You're live, it says. That's awesome.
Oh, no. It's better than being dead. It's better than being dead. All right. I'm going to announce that we are live. We are live here on Facebook and on
Did you fly today, KO?
I flew last night.
Night flying?
Yeah.
That seems to be going around.
Little low-level NVG.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Oof.
Woo!
Nuts? What, you nuts? What is you, ignorant?
I was talking to one of my old guard buddies today. Actually, Ed Fatman, the one-eyed guy. And they were flying last night at the guard. And he said, we didn't land till 1:30. And I said, what the F? He says, well, we had 27 people on the airplane. And we're doing this new land with no lights. I go, that ain't new. I'll land with no lights all the time in Afghanistan.
There you go.
He goes, yeah, well, now it's legal.
Hi, Chase Cole. Sorry it took so long to get there. We had a Zulu converter that was malfunctioning.
Yeah, so, Fig's Zulu converter was AFU.
All right, so there's Chase. We're going to go back to here. So there was KO. So Fig, remember the hand signal. I got a hand here somewhere. There we go. Do that. Hand signal. That'll do the ads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And where did I hide the ads for myself here? There's the banner. It's under brand, the logo, overlay, video clips. There we go. So Dave and I recorded a Jordan Harbinger. They say the average podcast listener has 6 shows in their rotation.
And we've got a recommendation that's sure to knock your socks off.
Hey, Fig, have you heard about Factor? It's America's #1. There we go.
What is going on over there?
Yeah, man, we're getting high tech, baby. Getting high tech.
Was that you and Dave? Was that Dave? Is that Dave's voice?
That was Dave.
Oh man, he's got a great voice.
So, one other thing I've got to do is figure out my notes because there's a couple things we've got to mention on the way in. So we've got a new merch store. We've got patrons. I've gotten 2 people to say, you know what? You mention your email address every time, but you don't have it written anywhere on your website.
How's that possible?
To include Jarrett Burke over at Lou's Restaurant in Hanover, New Hampshire, whereas what I had breakfast this morning with.
And I can't wait
Jarrett
to hear the debrief on that.
That was just a hoot. The great Marines and sailors all. It was fun to see. So, yeah.
How many?
One young man came up and Gunny goes, yeah, you probably owe your life to him, well, you never ejected. Okay. He goes, yeah. I go, oh, did you work on the stencil seat? He goes, yeah, I did. I said, what squadron were you in? He goes, 223. I went, oh, really? When were you there?
No.
Then he deflated me, baby. 2013.
For
a full 2 decades.
Crying out loud. Good Lord.
After my departure, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let us, you know what? Let's go live, man. Let's take this thing. Well, there's more comments. Hello, Chase.
That's me.
Oh, that was you. Okay.
That was me.
Yeah. So we've got 2 people looking at us on YouTube, it appears. So there's that. I'm going to go back to branding. And there's that ads. And we're okay. I'm going to take it. I'm going to start recording here. We're already recording there.
Quiet, numbskulls. We're broadcasting.
That's about to happen. Here it comes. Remember when it fades to you, KO, when the music fades with a So There I Was.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit on the tanker through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not.
No, he's not.
Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't.
There I was.
Nice. That's how
There
all
I
great
was.
aviation tales begin.
Yes,
Repeat
it
here.
is.
Welcome to the show. Coming to you from Lee, New Hampshire. And I just want a quick announcement. I got to go over to Hanover, New Hampshire this morning for the
Get
first
outta
Friday
here.
Jarhead breakfast
Oh,
at Lou's
man.
Restaurant and Bakery. So thank you to Jarrett Burke. Got to meet Gunny personally. What a hoot it was. It was fun to connect with Marines and sailors and share some time with them. So that was good. So where's my co-host tonight?
I'm in Kansas City, well, Kearney, Missouri.
Okay.
And
How's your
boy,
wife,
am I
man?
glad to be here. And I really apologize, KO, for making you wait. My Zulu calculator was AFU, as am I.
There you go. But we're
No worries,
back
Pig.
we're back with KO. He joined us a couple weeks back, and but I just couldn't pull the audio back together. So we're now on a new platform. We're broadcasting live to Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook all at the same time, as well as on StreamYard. And but we're going to get solid audio tonight. I can already tell things sound great. KO,
Hey, Mo.
former Marine Corps Ordnance-man, went to Fayetteville, was it? And was going to college, and some Army first sergeant, master sergeant,
yeah.
talked him into applying to the warrant officer program to fly those airplanes that have moving wings. He did,
Those aren't
and
airplanes.
he did, and here, it's terrifying, but that's
Those
how
are
it goes.
whirling death traps.
There you go. Welcome, KO. Thank you for coming back and indulging us.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I'm glad you're out of the closet, bro. You sound so much better. You look better. It's not as creepy as when you were in the closet with all the clothes hanging there and everything. I mean, literally in the closet.
Well, I wanted to stand out, Fig, and apparently I've done that. So,
There we go. It's kind of an inside joke. The first time KO joined us, he was literally in the closet so that the assume it so the kids' noise would not bother us.
right.
And but now you're out of the closet, and not that there's anything wrong with that. How was it you became I guess interested in aviation? Well, and in the Marine Corps. You enlisted in the Marine Corps. You were 18, 19?
I was 17.
17. All right, right on.
Yeah, growing up, my dad was in the Air Force career, and as far back as I could remember, I was obsessed with anything that flew. I just wanted to know more about it. I couldn't know enough about it. But the one little thing that I lacked was academic discipline. So I'm not going to get to flight school without that.
Yeah.
And being a young, impressionable in Civil Air Patrol, I thought, well, what's the quickest way I can get out of North Carolina and to these exotic places like Okinawa, El Toro? And so I enlisted in the Marine Corps. I said I wanted to do something in aviation, and my recruiter suggested aviation ordnance.
Nice.
I said, will that get me out of North Carolina? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So then I got my orders. VMA 231, Cherry Point, North Carolina.
Join the Marine Corps and see Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, a whole 3 hours from where I was from.
Oh, boy.
Right.
Oh,
that's
boy.
awesome. So,
But yeah,
so what was that like becoming an ordnance-man? Tell me about the school. How does
Yeah, where is
one
the
become
school?
an
Where is
ordnance-man?
the
What's
tech school for
where's
that?
the school? What's it like?
what-
What do they teach you? What do they teach you not to do?
well, at the time, the school was in Millington. I think it's since been moved to Pensacola, but
Okay.
a lot of basic ordnance types of families. But see, there's several MOSs within the ordnance field, and you really don't know what you're going to get. Everything from squadron level to intermediate level and so on. I really wanted to be on the squadron because I wanted to be near aircraft. And so when I found out that I was going to Cherry Point, like an idiot, what does that mean besides North Carolina? I was told that you're going to be on Harriers. Well, what exactly are those?
Right.
But
And who would want to be around those things?
But it was you guys, it was a great experience, to an 18-year-old, being trusted and taught to work on these aircraft and to do what we did. It was amazing. And I can tell you, as a teenager, when you load these aircraft, they come back from a sortie and all the ordnance worked as advertised. I mean, that was something that really gave you a sense of pride and a sense of accomplishment.
I get that. A little job satisfaction. And I can tell you, having been one of the guys that punches the little button and making that stuff fall off the airplane, coming back without ordnance, you could see the ordnance guys, they were happy about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it also meant we didn't have to download anything you didn't do.
Right.
Right. Well, the Mark 76s weren't too bad because those weighed, full 25 pounds. But when you start getting to Mark 81s, Mark 82s,
Mark 82s, 83s, CBUs, firebombs. Yeah, that was a little more of a challenge. But yeah, I sometimes I would ask myself, are they sure that I should be doing this? Because being a teenager, are you sure about this?
What are they, nuts?
Hey,
Let an 18-year-old handle high explosives?
KO just said something that triggered a thought, and I want to verbalize this before it escapes. Actually, I'll write it down. Go ahead, continue. I'll come back.
No, please, Fig, go ahead, man.
Firebomb. You said firebomb, so we're talking napalm, right?
They didn't call it that. It was the Mark 77. Yeah,
right. Well, we had, and I know VMA 231 had a empty Mark 77 that we put a door, probably the metal shop manufactured a door on it, and that was our cross country pod that we could put golf clubs or whatever.
Oh yeah, I think we called that a blivet.
A blivet, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And somebody may or may not have loaded, I don't know, 30 or 40 cases of Australian beer in one of those and brought it back from Australia. However, I just want to go on record as saying there was an airspeed and a G limit when you had the blivet. Do you recall that? Repeat?
Yeah, I do. Now that you mention it, yeah. Did
we
we observe that? Is the question?
Well, so I can tell you there was an airspeed in a G limit, imposed because it was untested, right? We didn't have data on it. So they said, well, don't do more than 3 Gs and don't fly more than, 350 knots. Well, I can tell you, I operationally checked that sucker to 6 Gs and well over 500 knots, and it worked great. Okay. Enough about the blivet. Mark 77 firebomb. Thank you.
Yeah. But, as far as I was concerned, all the officers and the pilots, I mean, when you guys weren't at the squadron or flying, we always thought that you were probably at the O Club having lunch with the SecDef. As far as I was thinking that as I was swabbing the ready room deck.
Yeah, because nobody's around, right? You're like, what? Where are these guys?
Yeah.
You guys were enigmas as far as I was concerned.
Well, when the president or vice president wasn't available, we would stoop to the SecDef. But
that confirms the Lance Corporal intelligence there. Repeat.
No, that's awesome.
But no, great time. Really grew up there, and I know as a corporal, as a CDI or collateral duty inspector, I went out to safe an aircraft for flight, and I know that I wasn't following procedure. That's the way I was taught, but it's no excuse. Aircraft comes back, and 2 upper chaff buckets are gone, and a big gash in the horizontal stabilizer.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought.
Okay, so explain what a bucket is, if you would.
Yeah.
Okay, a little square buckets, about I would say maybe 15 by 15 inches. It's a bucket that houses chaff and flare countermeasures, and there's 4 on top of the fuselage, and I believe 4 that were on the bottom. And
About the size of a 12 pack if you laid it on its side.
There you go.
Ish,
Thank you,
right?
Fig. Yeah, that checks out. So anyway, as an ordnance-man, it was my job to go out and essentially safe all the ordnance equipment that it was safe to fly. I signed it off. That airplane comes back missing 2 upper shaft housings with a gash in the horizontal stabilizer. I thought, man, I'm going to the brig. I can't believe I did that. And I had to go see the gunner, and then the AMO, the maintenance officer, was Vapor Walsh.
Yeah.
And I felt 2 inches tall that I let him down. And, he knew I felt bad, but, after letting me sit for a minute, he restored my qualifications. And that just, to me, I never forgot that. The point is that you don't get through life without screwing up. And he could have hammered me, but he didn't. And he saw something in me as a young kid. And that's just something that I've always thought about and I've always appreciated.
It was a nice leadership lesson for you, wasn't it?
Oh, wonderful leadership lesson. Thankfully, I was able to pay that forward years later.
There you go. I was going to ask you if you got that chance. So
I did as years later as a flight instructor teaching the Blackhawk course down at Fort Rucker, Port Novacell.
As of today, right?
Yep. No, Novacell was
June
April.
1st. Oh, was it April? Okay. All right.
Yeah, Fort Bragg is June 2nd is now Fort Liberty.
Okay. Because,
Yeah. But
can't follow traditions. Sorry.
right. So
I relinquished my soapbox. So any close calls, any funny stuff you ever saw in Ordnance? Any hair-raising moments?
Well, I'm really trying to recall specifically in Ordnance. Truth be told, I was more afraid of my NCOs really than anything technical. But
Nice. Okay.
I do recall that I was on the flight deck on the USS Wasp. This was the 26 Mu, about 96. And one of our pilots, Major Woodmansey.
Yeah, Woody.
His name.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was coming into land. He was hovering, and we heard it get quiet, but then the engine came back.
What?
And I just recall that he was, by the grace of God, he was able to land. And supposedly the tech reps came out, and they couldn't figure out what happened. But, as an ordnance-man, as a young lance corporal, they don't really debrief me on those things. But I just remember what I saw, and it was a reminder that this is an unforgiving business we're in.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Jeez.
That's terrifying. I'm glad. I don't think I'd ever heard that story. We
Nope.
can get Woody on and ask him about that.
Yeah.
But
I've not seen
our OIC for that debt was Major Horn at the time, Matty.
Okay.
Another-
Yep.
Another great guy. So,
All right.
these guys were
Very
10
good.
feet tall as far as I was concerned.
All right. Well, so do you want to explain what there's an acronym, and it's not on our glossary. We probably ought to put it up there, but there's IYOYAS.
Okay. Well, may my
You see that on the door of the ordnance shops all the time.
may my English professor forgive me for this. If you ain't ordnance, you ain't shit. EOS.
Right. So I used to have fun with the guys.
Don't
all the
analyze that
time
too much.
No, right? I used to have fun with the guys in ordnance at 223. So if you are not ordnance, you are not shit. So if you are an ordnance, you are shit. No, sir. Damn it.
He- I was never asked to pass a literature test to be an ordnance-man. That just never came up.
No double negatives, lads.
I think I asked you this before, KO, but I'm going to ask it again. The guys, all the Marines that were in our ordnance shop in 223, they had one thing in common, and nobody was a pipsqueak. Everybody looked like they spent a couple hours in the gym every day.
Oh, yeah.
Was that you?
Yeah. That was, no, I didn't tell you that, but that checks out because
Okay.
your first debt, when you're hand loading all the ordnance, you realize you need to go to the gym.
Okay.
So, yeah, that checks out. I think that was
Because,
common
talk about
denominator.
How many of you were loading a 500-pound bomb?
Yeah.
4 for the 500-pounders, which weren't so bad. But when you were getting to the 1,000-pounders, that got a little hairy. You really had to coordinate.
Still 4 of you?
Oh, 4 of us. But you got to understand, on the hernia bar, there's not room for 4 people to get a full grip. So you kind of had to do the best you could.
Jeez.
So you can understand why we had a problem, why we were aggravated when you guys came back with ordnance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all this time I thought it was just magic. I thought you guys rolled those out there on some nice rack, and the rack just lifted them up.
And
And you
hydraulically
guys
lifted
put
it
the
up
pins
into
in and
place,
pulled
and
the.
you just
Yeah,
flipped the
I just thought it
switch,
was
right?
magic.
Yeah, that's how it works.
No, well, we had a SATS loader, a little bomb lift, but usually we were the bomb lift. But
Yeah.
that's as they say, that was a peasant joke that you're too rich to understand.
Yes.
There you go.
I was saying all that in jest because I actually got to do that one day under the there was much chagrin from the gunny and ordnance shop, but I was like, I want to do this. I want you guys to tell me what to do. I want to be part of this. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is a good idea. Yeah. I did it one time and I got, okay, thank you, boys. That's all I needed to see. I got it. I know how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for someone like myself with, like I said, zero academic discipline, I wanted to see the world. I just wanted to get out and do all those things I've been reading about and being here airplanes. That was a wonderful experience, and that's something that I wouldn't trade. But I left the Marine Corps in '98 and off to college. So my wife and I were both working, going to school full time. And it was in my junior year, and it was a retired Army E8 statistics class that mentioned the Army Warrant Officer program. And I kind of thought he was messing with me because I hadn't finished my degree. But just in case he wasn't, I marched down to the nearest recruiter's office that afternoon, and it worked out phenomenally. But on a side note, while I was in college, I joined the Army Reserve because there was a Army Reserve unit close by, and fortunately it was a rigger unit, so I got to go on jump status, so I got to jump out of perfectly good airplanes every other drill.
There's just something.
So he
there's
flies
this-
helicopters and jumps out of airplanes.
David
And,
KO, there's just something not right with all that you just said. The part about jumping out of perfectly good. Now you say it was a rigger unit, so you were
Yeah.
actually para-riggers.
Right, air delivery specialist. So
Yes.
we would truss up, rig up the equipment, push it out, and jump out with it.
Holy shit! Okay,
So
I just
It
terrified.
was great times.
I know there's nothing right. There's just nothing right about any of that. I'm glad you think. He's like, yeah. Just jump out. You push it out, and then you jump out.
Yeah.
No, who does that?
Well, I never rode an ejection seat, so you guys have that. I think that's insane.
Whoa,
But
slow down. I never rode it. I just sat on it.
I rode in
I
one.
I
Thank the
still think
Lord, I
that's
never-
insane, guys.
Yeah.
But
Well.
no, it was but it was a great time. I just said just about a year and a half on jump status, and then the Army was fortunately desperate for pilots, so I got picked up for that. And
Well, I think the Army was lucky at that point. They got you.
uh,
Hold on. Let's back up. How many jumps?
I think a total about 15 jumps outside jump school. In jump school, you do the 5 qualifying,
Yeah.
and
So over 20 ish.
roughly,
Total.
yeah.
So you're in cat lives. You're all used up right now. So I'd be really careful from here on out.
Well, in jump school, I had a little incident. I believe it was my 3rd jump where,
You're gonna say that.
well, we were jumping 2 doors the first time doing that, and another jumper and I had collided.
Hold on.
And
Hold on. I want you to explain 2 doors. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Let's 2
okay,
doors. Talk about that.
when you look at the back of an airplane, there are 2 paratroop doors on either side. And when you hear jumping 2 doors, that means you're staggering left, right. You're deploying paratroopers out both doors, which timing is everything. Because if you time that wrong, 2 jumpers can meet in flight, and that's not good.
Were you jumping out of a C-17 or C-130 or?
This was a C-130,
Okay.
and so
So
our shoot.
that's like jumping off the really high dive at the same time as you and landing on the guy in the water, right? I mean, this is
Well,
not good.
I was too dumb to quit. Yeah.
How do you get is it the wake of the aircraft that sucks you guys together if you're going out opposite sides of the airplane? How's that work?
Yeah, in the slipstream if you're not. But for my incident, our chutes were deployed and we had collided. My chute wrapped around his. My chute collapsed, and they would tell us in pre-jump that a T-10 Charlie parachute will carry 2 combat-loaded jumpers to the ground, and that's something that it was all theory and academic, something that, yeah, sounds good, but you don't want to test it. But son of a bitch, it was true.
Nobody wants to test that. So you guys tangled up and you rode one parachute down.
We rode one parachute down.
You rode his parachute down because
it rode
you
his
basically
parachute down.
Tangled yours and effed yours up.
So as we landed, and I'm laying on my back, I'm making sure that all my parts and pieces are still there, that it works. And one of the airborne instructors, whom we refer to as Black Hats, or Sergeant Airborne, comes over with that damn bullhorn he always carried and said, "I bet you're going to church on Sunday. Hi, Airborne."
Okay, how
This
close?
Sunday and every Sunday.
Okay, I got 2 questions. What altitude were you guys jumping out at? Probably pretty low. You remember?
Training, we were probably jumping
1,500
1,000 feet, which is
1,000.
relatively high.
Okay.
For,
Okay, I figured it was somewhere in there. Okay, then the second question is, was there any conversation before impact?
after impact, there was some conversation.
But there wasn't any. Okay, so his chute tangled
Was
up
there
with
any
yours,
sign
collapsed
language?
yours. Where? I mean, were you close together? Were you within feet of each other before?
We were
were you
within
looking
feet
at
of each other.
Going, oh shit, this is bad, type thing.
We were looking each other's eyes. We were within feet of each other, and for a second I thought about deploying my reserve, but then the thought of, well, if that reserve deploys, it could deflate the main chute that's keeping us alive. So I decided to hold off on that.
No,
And
That's bad on the good bad scale.
well, he looked at me and said he was sorry, and I said, "Not half the sorry you're going to be when we get down, you bitch." I mean, I said some things I regretted, but
well, hey, it might have been it. So yeah, right. You were basically, if I live through this, you're gonna get it.
If you
yeah,
kill
but
me, I'm
I'm
never
gonna
going to
whip
speak
your
to you
ass.
again.
well, once we landed and all my parts worked, all thoughts of violence just went away. I was just happy to be alive and still functioning. So,
Well, I'm glad it worked out that way, KO.
me too, Fig. Me too.
I really am.
Well, my thought
But,
would be that you could you not break away from him and deploy your chute separately from him?
No, because our suspension lines had entangled, so we weren't going anywhere except down.
You were going down. That's true.
Yeah. So,
Gravity's
But-
a bitch.
yes, she is. So, but I had a good time. But I mean, as crazy as it sounds, I really had a good time on Jump Status. Great fun. I mean, just something to break up the monotony of going to school and working full time.
Yeah, I get it.
So I mean, you guys are in the guard. Yeah. So, but when I got word that I got picked up for flight school, I thought, this got to be a mistake. Have they really read my packet? I was a Marine. In fact, I called an Air Force Reserve recruiter after I got out to see if I could continue to serve that way. And the recruiter actually told me, as a former Marine, I was damaged goods. Those are the words he used.
Are you kidding me?
He told me that straight on the phone.
Guy
Not
was
sure
a
he would have said that
douche.
to my face, but he told me that on the phone.
That guy was a
That's
douche.
nuts.
You don't want anything to do with the Air Force Reserve. I'll tell you that.
Hell, it all worked out, Fig. But
Hey, to the Air Force Reserve brothers and sisters that are out there, I'm just poking the bear here, okay? So
That's
don't get all crazy.
That's what we do here. By the
Yeah.
way, that's Fig. So there I was.us.
I can speak ill of the Air Force because I spent half of my military
'Cause
career.
you
I
are
finished my
one,
military
yeah.
career in the Guard, Air Guard. All right, so and I butted heads with those sons of bitches every day too. It's okay. We got through it. We all
it's
got through it.
okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
but
So after that, you got talked into going into flight school.
yeah. So we had
And,
started out.
Tell me about that.
Well, started out warrant officer candidate school, 6-week. I guess similar to OCS, just a lot of stress, a lot of time management. It was a good experience, and it does prepare you because we know aviation is detail oriented. But
Yep.
so on to flight school, into a lot of academics before you step inside of an aircraft. And first aircraft in primary training was a TH-67 or the Bell 206, the pretty common helicopter. I think the Navy uses that as well.
It's called
The
jet launcher,
TH-55, I think you guys call it, or the 57.
The Jet
But,
Ranger.
Jet Ranger, right?
Yeah, the
Ranger?
Bell Jet
Yeah.
Ranger.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
what was fortunate is by the time when I was going through flight school, all of our instructors were Vietnam veterans. So just the experience that these guys brought to the table, it was such a blessing because these guys wrote the book on it. And
Yeah.
I was in awe to be in the same room as these guys.
Right.
But so in primary, where you just learned how to physically fly the aircraft, I was one of the first guys in my class to actually master hovering, and I use master with air quotes. But I got really cocky. I got a little too cocky. So when we moved on to instruments, and I realized when I started that, my confidence was stupidly inflated, and that put me back in my place. So my instructor, God bless him, he really tried, but he couldn't understand why I couldn't understand it. So it was like someone with a PhD teaching kindergarten.
Yeah. Right. I like that. He couldn't understand that I couldn't understand.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I every day it's like not being able to swim, but you're thrown in the deep end. You have to be pulled out. But I was moved to another instructor, and oh my God, just the third eye opened, and somehow I was able to figure this out.
Well, everybody has different teaching and learning style. You just needed to get paired up with the right style.
Absolutely. So did on that, and then after instruments, you had basic combat skills where you can learn to actually employ the helicopter. In this case, it was the OH-58, which is the military version of the Jet Ranger, into a tactical environment. So we learned how to scout from the air using the old 1/50,000th map, a ruler, and an E6B.
Nice.
I doubt I could do that now, but
No. There's no way I could.
Yeah.
There's no way I could.
yeah. But you know, the
E6B
batteries
is
will never die on that
basically
thing.
A round slide rule,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for lack
Yeah.
of a better. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
just gave my old one away not too long ago.
They're
it
actually
was
pretty neat pieces of gear. They work so well. Once you learn how to use one,
Yeah.
yeah.
they're super efficient, and it's a lot easier than punching numbers in a calculator type.
You can spill coffee on it and it's still going to work.
That's right.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it shorting out. You don't need to recharge it. It always works.
Yeah.
We had that problem a lot in Harriers, didn't we, Fig? Spilling
Yes.
coffee on our,
Yeah.
and then the catering.
Yeah, never. Not one
Not so
time
much.
did I.
I had that problem never.
Yeah. I remember having to clean up a few cockpits from you guys. I'm not going to drop any names on that, but yeah.
Whoa.
Wait. What do you mean clean up a cockpit? I don't understand. Wait, like from food or from?
Yeah, from food a couple of times. In fact,
Who the hell's got
one-
time to?
Pre-digested
cross
food,
country.
or
yeah. Well, I'll say
make
this
yourself sick?
one pilot, a Harrier pilot, who I'm not going to name. I tried to joke with him about he owes Ordnance a 6-pack of beer because he left the master arm switch on. And
Shit.
well, I thought it was a joke. That's what but he didn't take it as a joke, and that put me back in my place.
So it wasn't on. You were just saying that.
No, it was. But then he went on
shit.
to remind me of all the mistakes that Ordnance has made and how our shop needs to look into ourselves. Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Wow.
Lighten up, Francis.
Right.
Wow.
Al,
You know.
I scurried away, and
All right. Let's not go there. Okay. I want to say one thing. Master arm switch is kind of a big damn deal. That's all I'm saying about that.
Yeah,
Well.
when you come back with that still on,
Yeah.
that's not anything
That's
can
not-
happen.
Yeah. Okay. Enough about that.
well,
All right.
anyway.
Enough about that. Let's talk about flying, and let's talk about
Yeah.
you flying in particular.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what was the best part? How long did it take you to get your wings, and then what'd you do after that?
About a year and a half total, and at the end of flying portion, you have what's called the basic course, which at the time that was professional development, your SEER training, and aircraft selection.
Okay.
So
Did
you
you
like
say
you have a
SEER?
quick SEER?
Did you
yeah.
guys go to an off-site location for SEER training, or did you do it all right there?
They had it all right there
Okay.
at good old South Alabama.
I think we've mentioned it before, but it's SERE, S-E-R-E, survival, escape, resistance, and survival, evasion, resistance, and escape.
Boom.
Yep. Yep.
Got it.
Well done, sir. Well done.
No,
Trying to
you
hit
just
all these
learn that
acronyms as we go.
you just don't want to be a prisoner of war is
You
what
do
the
not.
take out of that.
Right.
No,
So, but on
I
a
won't waterboard you.
well, yeah,
If you're lucky.
but if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So, but everyone in our class, it happened to, we all got the aircraft of choice. So how they did that was they say, okay, we've got, say, 10 Blackhawks, 10 Chinooks, 5 Apaches, 5 58s, and guy at the top of the class, you've got the highest GPA, what do you want? And then it's so on and so on. And now the next day you're going to get your assignment because they don't want guys picking airframes based on duty stations. I can understand that. So I had a choice of Korea or Fort Drum, and I don't like the cold. So Korea was a 1-year tour. Fort Drum, New York was 3 years with probably a Korea hat on.
Hey.
And I decided to go to Korea.
Okay.
Yeah. Hint, it gets really cold in Korea. Just saying.
Yeah. But
And that 1 year was unaccompanied.
it was, and it actually turned out to be 15 months because of the invasion of Iraq, we were extended.
Oh, great. Okay.
So, but there's worse places to be extended.
Can I make an assumption that
Please.
there was a detailed discussion about all the options with Mrs. KO?
There was, and
This
thankfully, she is as tough and understanding as they come. My father-in-law served in Vietnam as a retired airline captain, so she understands.
So yes, and that segues into this point: is none of us could do the things we do if we didn't have great support from home.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if only that was the worst news. But I signed into Fort Bragg, signed into the MedEvac, the 57th medical company, the original dust off as it's called. And I was told, don't unpack. And a month later, I was on my way to Iraq to meet up with the company at Camp Spiker.
So you bypassed Korea?
I left Korea after 15 months.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I signed into the rear detachment at Fort Bragg, and then on my way to Iraq.
Oh my gosh!
So you didn't get a chance to let the ink dry, or probably your skivvies dry, but get them home, get them washed, and they're still wet and time to go.
Nope. Be flexible. So, but I got there in October of 2003. And we were supposed to come home in March, which, all right, that's not the worst thing in the world. And we were in Kuwait. We were 4 days from coming home. All of our helicopters are shrink wrapped, blades folded, ready to push on the boat. When the Anbar province blew up with all the insurgent activity, we got extended for 3 months.
That had to be a big kick in the junk for morale.
Yeah, it was. But but you also realize what we were doing was important. And as much as it was, it's, hey, man, it's time to stop feeling sorry for yourself. There's guys out there that need you. So,
hey, I might have missed it. Did you say what aircraft you were flying?
yeah, UH-60 Blackhawk.
60 Blackhawks. Okay, all right, just making sure.
Yeah, but yeah, that was a pretty intense deployment, and and this goes back to when I talk about leadership and things that you never forget. My very first mission, it was another downed Blackhawk. We don't know what downed it, but we've got to get to the crew, and the radios sounded like tobacco auctions. You're trying to pick out what's important to you, and crazy times. Well, thankfully we got the crew, and we got everyone out of there. And afterwards, my crew chief comes up to me, puts his arm on my shoulder, and said, "You did good, sir." And
nice.
I thought, wow, if only you knew how scared shitless I was.
Nice. Okay. Well, up to now, we've talked about where you've gotten and how you've gotten there and that sort of thing. But I think now we want to find out some of the crazy flying that you got to do. So let me take just a couple minutes to talk about some of the people that help make this show possible for everybody. And we're going to talk about, I didn't mention it on the pre-brief, but we're going to talk about Factor, one of our sponsors. Thanks for being a sponsor. And folks, you can help us by patronizing the sponsors. If you can't join us at patreon.com, patronize the sponsors and encourage them to help bringing this show to you. And the second little spot that you're going to hear is we mention Dave Hamilton every week, and that's me and Dave talking about another podcast that we both like and listen to. So let's listen to what those folks that are bringing us the show are doing for us. Hey, Fig, have you heard about Factor? It's America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. They deliver these amazing meals straight to your door.
Oh, really? That could be a game changer for us pilots, constantly on the go and all.
Absolutely. And during the prime spring season, when we need convenient meals to fuel us for our flights, Factor can be a lifesaver. No more worrying about finding wholesome food when we're in a hurry.
I couldn't agree more. With Factor, we can skip the grocery store, skip the chopping, the prepping, and have so much time. Just imagine the convenience of having ready-to-eat meals.
And the best part is that their meals are fresh, never frozen, and ready in just 2 minutes. No need to sacrifice taste or quality when we're pressed for time.
That's true. Plus, they offer different options to cater to our dietary needs and goals. If we're watching our calorie intake, they have calorie smart meals with around or less than 550 calories per serving.
And for those days when we need an extra boost of energy, their Protein Plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more per serving will come in handy. It's perfect for keeping us alert and focused during our flights.
Absolutely. Repeat. With Factor's diverse menu, we don't get bored either. They have options that fit different lifestyles, including keto, vegan, plus veggie and more. It's like having a personal chef.
Don't forget the add-ons. We can supplement our meals with breakfast items like their delicious apple cinnamon pancakes or replenish our snack supply with their assortment of 45 plus options.
That sounds like a dream come true. Not only is Factor a convenient choice, but it's also a sustainable one. They offset their delivery emissions, source renewable electricity, and even offer sustainably sourced seafood in their meals.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. So let's head to factormeals.com/SoThereIWas50 and use the code SoThereIWas50 to get 50% off our first box. It's time for us to enjoy delicious meals without the hassle.
I'm with you, Repeat. Code SoThereIWas50 at factormeals.com/SoThereIWas50 for 50% off your first box. Let's savor every bite and keep soaring through the skies with full bellies.
Cheers to that, Fig. Here's to fueling up, saving time, and conquering the skies with Factor by our side. They say the average podcast listener has 6 shows in their rotation.
And we've got a recommendation that's sure to knock your socks off.
Introducing the Jordan Harbinger Show. Jordan dives into the minds of fascinating people, athletes, authors, scientists, even spies and hostage negotiators.
And Jordan, he's got this knack for getting his guests to spill the beans, unheard stories, thought-provoking insights, you name it.
He's like a wisdom dentist, Dave. He extracts those bits of knowledge without fail. But instead of giving you a lollipop, he gives you something even sweeter, a more informed worldview.
That's right, Pete. You can't go wrong with adding the Jordan Harbinger Show to your rotation. It's incredibly interesting, and there's never a dull show.
So just search for the Jordan Harbinger Show. That's HARB as in Bravo, IN as in November, GER on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And thanks to Jordan for doing this swap with us.
Well, there we go. So you find yourself over in Iraq.
Yeah.
And people are now you're not just shooting down range. People are shooting back and things are going
Absolutely.
on. Yeah. What was that like?
It was a steep learning curve because up to that point, everything was academic. And little quick story that reminds you of where you're at is when I'd first gotten there, I was just doing administrative things because the unit was so busy. They didn't have time to do the progression and the local area orientation. So one of the medics asked me if I could go with him to the outer perimeter because they'd purchased a giant generator in the city of Tikrit. So sure. So he and I drive down there and we see this thing come up. It's this giant generator on a Mercedes flatbed. And the interpreter is there, and they're having a conversation. I'm just standing there. I don't know why, other than just to stand there. And the sergeant says, "Well, sir, I need you to get in the truck with them." And I look at him. I said, "Are you just having fun with me because I'm the new guy?"
Right.
And he said, "No." He says, "No, really, sir. I need you to do that." And I said, "I thought the interpreter was going to do this." "Well, he's got to stay here. Why would he do it?" Okay. Well, I'm thinking they probably have enough explosives in this thing to put a dent in the world, and I'm supposed to ride in the truck with these guys. So I looked at the interpreter. I said, "Hey, I need you to translate something for me." And I pulled the slide back on my M9 to make sure I had a round in there. And I said, "Tell these guys that if they deviate from the route, I probably can't drop them all, but I'll get an A for effort." And I'm not sure they were
I like
convinced,
that
because
story.
I have no idea how that translated from English to Arabic, but everyone was well behaved, thankfully.
I like that story. Yeah. And I'm glad they were well behaved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
So,
That's
but
a
it
showtime,
was intense, and
How long a ride was that?
about 20 minutes.
Okay. Daytime or nighttime?
It was daytime.
Great. And was there traffic? A lot of traffic? Like stop and
No,
go?
this was inside. This was really inside Camp Spiker, so it was a really big outer perimeter. So, thankfully, we weren't riding downtown. But
Okay.
as I'm in the truck, I'm thinking, well, I really hope they were properly vetted.
Right. You're going to be the first one to a terrorist attack.
Yeah, either I'll know or I won't.
right?
You'll know for a split second. Oh,
Yeah. Damn it, would probably be my last words. But
glad it worked out.
But yeah, me too. So, but it was as a medevac company, we were pretty busy, and understand that the unit that I was in had already been in country 8 months, and here I show up as a brand new pilot, and these guys are just the consummate professionals, and I was just trying to live up to that. But after one particular mission, it was about a 02 local, zero illumination. We get a 9-line request, which is a medevac request. And as we're landing on this this little dust strip, the guy I was flying with, I'm in the left seat. He's a pilot in command, and there's a tailwind. And I told him, I said, "Hey, where there's a tailwind." "Yeah, Roger." Okay, well, he knows what he's doing because he's been here. Well, about 60 feet off the ground, that's when we were completely enveloped in the dust. And I lost all visual references. It's dust land, brownout, or degraded visual environment. And once that happened, I said, "We should go around." And I said, "I got it." Okay. Well, when we hit the ground, we were left wheel low, and we started sliding. So it was long enough to where I thought I locked my harness because I thought we were going to roll. And it seemed forever, but in reality, it was probably about 3 seconds. And that brought me back in the moment. So I pulled both engines offline. He managed to keep the aircraft upright. And I think looking back that we were in shock because we got out of the aircraft. Everybody okay? We kind of went over it with flashlights, and we talked amongst ourselves if everybody's comfortable flying it back. And we flew it back. And I don't think the commander really got the full picture on what happened. And they gave us another aircraft. And by this time, when I got in the spare aircraft to finish our first up shift, I remember my knees were shaking. But hey, if these guys are doing it, I'm doing it. And the next morning when the sun came up and we saw the actual extent of the damage on that aircraft, we realized that flying it back probably wasn't the world's best decision.
I'll see.
Yeah. What kind of damage? What kind of damage?
Oh, the left strut was bent in. A good portion of the stabilator in the back was gone. It looked like some airframe crinkling. It was we really had no business flying that aircraft back the way we did.
What?
So,
well, what would have been your other options? Call for another bird to pick you up and.
Yeah, most likely.
Okay.
But again, in a situation like that, you convince yourself it's not as bad as it is, and we all decided we didn't want to spend the night out in Indian country either. So that was the option.
Oh.
So, but the and the commander at the time, I'm really glad. Another good example of leadership. is our post-accident evaluation was the following night, and we were back on the schedule. And
Wow.
if I had time to really think about what happened and what could have happened, I don't know if I would have climbed back into another aircraft, to be honest.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a good call then. Get your ass back out there, right?
Right on the horse.
But again, it's just to his leadership. I mean, God bless that man. So, but thankfully, we finished the deployment. Well, we thought we were finished, then we got sent back in for 3 months.
Good time.
Yeah, and we were blessed to get through with everybody and everything, but we knew we were going back in 2005. And
wow, so that's pretty quick turnaround time.
Yeah, but in those days, that was true across the board. I mean, when you were there, you knew if you were staying in the military, you were rotating back. The question wasn't if, but when.
Yeah, 18 months in the bucket was the Air Guard cycle. Every 18 months, we were back in the rotation.
Yep.
So I don't know what it was like for you guys, but that was.
Well, we got a couple more months. We got about 3 more months stateside because of our extension. So that turned out to be a blessing. But even back in the States, we were pulling medevac coverage at the Mountain Ranger Camp in Dahlonega and coverage on Fort Bragg. So it wasn't really time off, but it was all geared toward getting ready for the next deployment. And on that next one, that was 2005, 2006, was at Balad Air Base. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that.
I've been to Balad multiple times. Yeah, I know where it is.
Yeah, that was a pretty busy time too.
North side. That's just the north side of Iraq, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's between Tikrit and Baghdad, north of Baghdad.
Yeah. No, that's why I meant Baghdad. Yeah, it's right in between. It's just north of Baghdad.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had F-16s there, right?
Right.
Heedless. Yeah.
Yeah. F-16s, and you're sitting in your hooch watching a movie. You hear the afterburner take off. Just pause it because now his wingman's going to be right behind him.
Right.
Yeah. So,
or turn subtitles on is your other option, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think to do that, but the one thing that really stuck out about that rotation. Did you have something you wanted to say, Pete? I'm sorry.
No. Go on. Yeah.
I remember we had on a 9-line request, we launched 2 ships by this point. You had Lead and Chase. And on this particular time, Chase had to pick up the Rams team. That's an acronym, which I don't remember what it stood for, but it was a team of firefighters whose specialty is cutting guys out of mangled vehicles, because that's what you're going to see with a lot of these IEDs. And we got a call for a vehicle rollover on the MSR Tampa, the main military supply route. So I pick up the Rams team. Lead gets to the site, and it's a contracting vehicle, but it's turned over. The driver's trapped inside. And what's interesting is the security was one lone Iraqi policeman that when he saw the 2 medevac birds show up, he just drove off. So
what?
Got
this. Not a problem.
Yeah. Well, the truth is we didn't, because we're sitting on the ground and talking amongst the lead ship, and some of the villagers were coming out, and we decide that we need to get some over the horizon comms here, because everything was line of sight. So I'm circling, and some of these villagers are coming out. It looks like they're throwing rocks. And
so just to be clear here, what you're talking about is your radio only goes a few miles.
Correct.
Miles.
Yeah, it was all line of sight.
Altitude, so their line of sight was further back to the camp to get help. Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm putting out a call on the radio for some gunship support, and these villagers, they're all pretty brazen. I mean, I'm sure some of them were curious, but some of them were becoming hostile, and I'm attempt to do a diving run to make them think I've got guns, which we don't. My crew chief had an M4, and I had briefed him that, hey, if they don't get it by this point, I'm going to have you fire a warning shot. If they don't get it by that point, just remember, our job is to protect our sister ship, and that's what we have to do. And that's when 5 Apaches show up, and you're about to get in a street fight, then 5 of your big brothers show up. So that was a
Nice.
beautiful sight.
Yeah.
I take back some of what I said about Apache drivers.
Right.
Right on.
we
So,
we all
well, let
flipped.
me ask: when you were doing these simulated gun runs, did you have a big red and white target with perpendicular lines on it?
I sure
The
did.
Red Cross. Yeah,
I
so they know.
All we had was harsh looks and harsh language.
Yeah.
That they didn't understand, by the way.
No, but they did know that we had no combat multiplying weapons. So, so the Apache shows up on station. I briefed those guys up, and again, great sight. It was just probably one of the greatest feelings of relief I can recall. And one of them does a low dry pass, and it was Moses parting the Red Sea. I mean, these guys know what the Apache is, and I think it made them rethink what they were about to do. And the Apache lead asked me, he said, well, hey, Dustoff, if you still think they're too close to your sister ship, we could put some rounds their way. I said, no, hold off, guys. I think they got the message. But while this is going on, my tactical operations center is calling me, and I was a little coarse because, you've got your hands full at a moment like this. And I don't think that my boss knew what was going on. So as soon as they extract the driver, we get him to the hospital. I get back to our area. I shut down, and my platoon commander comes up to have a few words with me. But at this point, I'm coming down from all the adrenaline. So as he's yelling at me, he really sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher. I really don't understand a word that he's saying, but I noticed that he's got a water bottle in his hand, and I thought, shit, I'm thirsty. So as he's yelling at me, I just took the bottle out of his hand and chugged it. And he looks at me, and I said, I'm sorry, sir. What were you saying?
Yeah. What was that last part?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we laugh about that later, but I assured him, I say, hey, I wasn't trying to establish a power dynamic. I was just really thirsty.
Right.
Even though I did establish one.
No.
Well, but hey, sometimes an ass chewing's required by law. It's nothing personal, just business.
Yeah. We all get that. That's fine. That's a good story. Wow.
So,
and so, hey, why we're right there, let me ask you this. Because I know how it went for me. So you come down off that adrenaline that you had, and did you, is that when you get the shakes, and then you just feel like you can't keep your eyes open anymore, type thing, and you need like a power nap, or how did it affect you? After a mission like that, where you were all keyed up, and then there was a lot of adrenaline involved.
I just remember having to sit, and it was just after the adrenaline came down, like you said, it was fatigue. It was just really
like massive fatigue.
Yeah, you're just sitting there, and then you really play back of what could have happened, what did happen. It's like, man, that could have easily gone the other way.
Yeah, the human mind is funny like that too. You into any, be it a car accident or anything that's an adrenaline pump, the mind goes back to that and relives it over and over again until it processes it, and then it eventually fades away. It's a strange but interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, so it was a pretty intense time. But again, I was blessed to do it, and I tell people the real work is done by the crew chiefs and the medics. I can't say enough about those folks. God bless them. I've seen them do some amazing things.
Right.
Did we establish, and I think we did, let's just make sure. I think you and I had a little overlap at Bagram.
Yeah. I was there from December of 2008 to December of 2009.
Yeah. Okay. So I was there August through October of 2009. That was my first time there. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think you were Chrome on the radio.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the mission, but Chrome was a lot of them. Yep.
Yeah.
So I told you my bee hut, my plywood, house was right next to the flight light. I mean, you couldn't get. Yeah. So
that's where crew rest happens, right?
Yes, lots of crew rest. The best crew rest ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In 90-second increments, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
24/7 air operations. You had F-16s, burner takeoffs. We had F-15s there, F-15Es. Of course, you had the the H60 guys bringing the hospital was just north of our little compound there, and so the helo pad where they would come in was right there. And then at the time there was like 4 or maybe 6 Navy EA6s parked.
EA6s, yeah,
and they would come into the break and go full power with their boards out just to make a lot of noise. Oh, geez. They were the loudest thing in town.
I swear the EA6 was louder than the Harrier.
It was absolutely.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And I don't know if you guys had this, but in Bagram, by this time, I was with the 101st flying. I was in an air assault unit, and there was the controllers there. The air traffic controllers were they were civilian, but they were Air Force trained, and in a lot of ways, they didn't know how to deal with helicopters. And there was some problems. There was one particular controller that I swear an Army aviator broke her heart because
she hated Army guys.
Well, she was even cutesy when the Russians came in, but once she heard one of our call signs, boy, she spring loaded to the bitch position.
Oh yeah. That's a show title repeat.
But
loaded the bitch.
Yeah, she was. You were holding on the right base until you called fuel critical. In fact, one time in particular, I need you to hold on right base. I've got a C-17 on a 20-mile final.
20-mile final. Yeah.
Well, yeah. In fact, there was one where I'm flying with someone that outranks me. I'm the pilot in command. I asked for a turnout north of the tower. She tells me avoid overfly the FOD vehicles. I do exactly. Then she gets on with my call sign. What are you doing? I said, ma'am, I'm doing exactly as you instructed. Mark tapes. As soon as I said that, the gentleman I'm flying with keys the mic and said, no one likes you, bitch.
It could be another show title.
Well, I looked over at him. I said, thanks for that. Now you think she just marked tapes. You think I can follow through with this?
You think so? Oh, God.
Well, it wasn't your voice.
Well, needless to say, we didn't hear anything more, so maybe this was mutually assured destruction. I don't know. But, they were tons of fun. So it was, it could be difficult. I think, in fact, our brigade and higher had to get involved with this because it was becoming dangerous.
How about this? Sharona.
Fob
Sharona.
Oh, yeah.
I know this wasn't in 2009, but in 2010, 2011, when I went back, there was a controller that worked at Sharona that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew what she looked like, but her voice, right? Her voice was just insanely sexual.
Okay. So you
don't meet your
operator for
don't
a controller.
Do it. You'll be disappointed, Fig.
What? So no. So so everybody's talking about her, and I'm like, everybody. She weighs 400 pounds. She's 5'2" and weighs 400 pounds. No way. She's so on this one particular night, because we only went in another night because it was kind of in a shitty neighborhood, so to speak.
Yeah.
We were doing engine run and offload, and I said, okay. So the co-pilot says, you got the brakes, you got it, you got the jet, you got everything. I'm going to go. I had a digital camera. I'm going to go get a picture of. So I said to her, I said, hey, shoot me a IR strobe from your tower. See where you are. And of course, I got NVGs on. I was like, oh, shit, it's right here. Okay, I'll be right back. Thinking I'm going to get a picture and I'm going to show everybody she's a gargoyle, right? And so I get off the airplane and I'm running. It's pitch black. Of course, I was on NVGs. My eyes are all screwed up anyway. Running. And then I realized I've been running so far that I can't hear the airplane engines anymore. Uh-oh. And I'm looking at my watch. And I'm like, I don't know how long am I running? And so and by the way, I'm running past helicopter revetments, and I'm scared. I'm startling people, and I'm starting to
running
think
through minefields.
No, I'm starting to think I'm going to get shot. Somebody's going to think I'm a Haji coming through the wire or something. So I think, okay, this is bad. This is a bad idea. I got to go back. So I go back. And of course the airplane's buttoned up. There's an Army general sitting on the bunk. He hands me the coin when I get on. He goes, oh, yeah, like, how long you guys been done? We've been done 10 minutes, dude. We were wondering where the F you were. All right. So fast forward I didn't get a picture. No, I didn't get a picture. I don't know where the hell this thing is. So fast forward like 4 days later, we're there at Sharona, and we're there in the wee hours. And while we're there doing the engine run and offload, it starts getting light. And it's the first time I've been there where I can see shit. So I'm pointing in the direction that I ran, and this is getting lighter and lighter, and I can see more and more. My heart sank because I saw where I ran. I ran down this little trail that was a 30 or 40 foot drop off to the left. Nothing but jagged rock. I mean, how I didn't die that night for being a dumbass, it wasn't my time. I ran not once, but twice, back and forth, down this little shitty trail with a drop off on one side.
You were a man on a mission, Fig.
Yeah, and I failed, but I lived.
We've proved that before, though, right? I mean, we talked about Nacho before. When it's not your time, it's not your time.
It wasn't my time, bro.
Deck at 500.
And I probably would have died. I just would have been mangled up and deformed, and broke everything, and probably lost my teeth.
Probably a new call sign.
Yeah, probably have been, Commander Dumbass.
Right on. At the risk of extending it and going sort of in the same place. I actually heard this working the ASAP one time. Aviation Safety Action Program. True story. Swear to God, I heard this with my own ears. But we had to put our phones down to prove we weren't recording or anything like that.
All right.
There had been an altitude deviation, and the FAA had to go and find the tapes and pull the tapes and listen and see what happened and all that. And while he was listening, he goes, "Oh, I want you to hear this, but everything down." Go, okay. And it was, let's pick a center that it wasn't. So it was Seattle Center. Seattle Center it was. United checking in at 320. Roger, United 325. Hey, you got time for a question? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that controller on the previous frequency, on a scale of 1 to 10. Without missing a beat, the controller goes, on a scale, about 285.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I needed that. That was nice.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
But I swear to God, heard it with my own ears. Not a BS story. It really happened. So,
that's awesome.
All right. So let's get back to the why we're here though is all the cool and scary crap that you did, KO. So you're over there in Iraq. You did some medevacs. I didn't ask this before, but did you have any evacs where you were particularly satisfied or particularly disappointed? One that went one way or the other based on who you picked up and what you were doing. I mean, people think of medevac, they go back to the 1970s and MASH and, Gurney's exterior and that kind of stuff. But paint us a picture. What was that like doing medevac and guys bleeding out or trying to bleed out and corpsmen saving them? You alluded to it a little bit, but what was going on?
Well, it was really, looking back on it, it was emotionally taxing. And everyone had their own way of dealing with it. And one of the mistakes that I made is we brought in an American who was wounded pretty bad. And I made the mistake of later on calling up to the cache to see the combat support hospital to find out about him. And I was told that he had passed about 20 minutes prior to my phone call. So at that point, I started to second guess everything I did. If I should have done this, I should. But in reality, there was nothing we could have done. The crew, we did everything that we could have done. Everything that could have been done, we did do. And, thinking about it, it was, all right, that's just my own damn vanity to think that I could have changed any outcome. But, after that, I really didn't want to know their names. I really didn't want to know what happened to them. Just for my own emotional well-being, it said, hey, as a crew, we did everything we possibly could have done, and that was it. No, one particular mission. Sir, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying. I get that. Things become overwhelming. You have to tune them out. You have to turn off the news sometimes. You just have to.
Yeah. And but I'd really, the medics or whom I really, well, and crew chiefs especially too, who I admire the most, because a lot of times the crew chiefs, in addition to their mechanical duties, they're assisting the medic. Either they're doing chest compressions or whatever the medic needs.
Can you believe that? Isn't that something?
So, I mean, it's just a blessing to work with some of the, I mean, these amazing individuals. That was just, it was a humbling experience. And before you really, one thing that this mission really did for me is that, you know, before you feel sorry for yourself, just, hey, you've got all your parts and pieces and you're still here. So stop complaining. That's usually the conversation I have with myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would on occasion do the bandage mission where we'd fly all over Afghanistan to all the different FOBs and pick up wounded guys that had been brought into FOBs and take them back to Bagram. And those were rough days.
Yeah. That's with Bagram though. That's what was interesting is Bagram itself could be very garrison-like, as you know, Fig. You know, you come back from a mission or you're doing a hero flight, which is you're picking up an American killed in action.
Yeah.
And somebody tells you to put your cover on, or it's
Yeah.
Well, you know, and it got so because my job at that point, I was on staff. I still flew quite a bit, but I was a tactical operations officer. So when I had to leave the flight line to go over to the PX to get a haircut or what have you, I got tired of saluting and returning salutes. So I managed to get a sling from the aid station. So whenever I had to go leave the airfield, I just put my right arm in a sling.
That's a good call.
So, but some of the guys were picking up on it, and I hung it up. So if anybody was going to the PX and their arm was tired, they just grab it. It just kind of became a communal thing.
Perfect.
A lot of right arm injuries over in our area.
Weird.
I'm guessing you didn't have to carry a sword for that either, as Gunny put on our show.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, by the time you hear this episode on the podcast, what kind of officer doesn't carry a sword? An one-armed officer.
One-armed officer,
sir. Hey, just a logistics type question for you. When you were at Bagram, were you south of, say, the tower? Were you south? Was that where you guys were hooched up?
We were across the airfield from the functioning tower, but we were on the same side as the old Russian tower.
Oh shit! So you're on the west side or east side of the field. East side of the field.
East side of the field. Yeah.
Okay.
So at
Did
the
you guys
time,
have your own? Did you have your own chow hall over there?
yeah, we did.
Okay.
And I remember, you forget when you're deployed what day it is, except you know when it's Friday because that's surf and turf.
That's right.
And I remember that's when we always said the Air Force were like locusts because they would just converge on our chow hall.
Yeah.
And the sergeant major, being the sergeant major, asked the Air Force guys, "Do you guys have a chow hall?" "Oh, yeah, Sergeant Major." "Is it good?" "Well, yeah." "Then stay the fuck out of mine."
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But
hey, I got a couple notes here I'd like to hit you about. Then I'd like to actually get into you've done some civilian medevac.
Yeah.
Since getting back, and I don't get me wrong, I don't want to take you out of Iraq or out of Afghanistan, but too early. But in fact, I think at one point you thought you were going to leave Iraq, and then you didn't.
Yeah. That was my first deployment. Okay. We were at Kuwaiti Naval Base. We were
all the airplanes were all packed up, ready to get on a ship and everything, right?
Ready to go. We were 4 days from coming home, and the commander, I didn't appreciate him at the time, and it was really immature on my part to think the way I did of him, but I realized he was an amazing commander, and he was the commander that we needed. And I just can't imagine how tough it was for him to tell us that, guys, we're not going home on Thursday. We're going back into Iraq. So we were, we were still, I mean, and it was when he called us when he called us all together, it was about 2,100. And it was strange. And he says, guys, first of all, I said, I want to thank you guys for staying in the proper uniform, staying out of trouble and doing the right thing. Well, I remember thinking, all right, Now you know you're not going to like what's coming because he never gives compliments.
Here it comes.
And he said, guys, we're not going home on Thursday. I'm sorry. That's all the information I have. Call your families. So the phone center, there was a lot of yelling and my wife being the sensible one, she wasn't happy about it, but she said, well, take care of yourself. And I'm still, a lot of us were still in a little bit of a denial because we thought, all right, this is just going to cost us another week or two in Kuwait. And they're going to do their analysis and realize that we need to come home because most of our aircraft had a lot of maintenance needed to be done. So they were one-time flighted to the port.
Yeah, weird. So now what, right? One-time flighted to the port. What are you going to do? Shoot us a bunch of new parts and out there. Yeah,
that's we got all the parts and all the maintenance, and for the first week or two, the maintenance folks, they pulled off a miracle. They got those aircraft ready to go. But but again, we thought that all right, another week or two in Kuwait, and when they told us we're going to go down to the port and break the shrink wrap off because we're going back in, oh shit, that was the oh shit moment. And again, it's comical now, but at the time it wasn't. They made us sit through group therapy before they gave us our weapons back.
Is that a no shitter?
Yeah, they had a yeah.
Oh boy.
So
okay.
That was that was interesting, but our sister company though, they had lost I believe 4 aircraft and 2 crews, and everyone kind of felt that we're going to be kept here until we lose somebody. And if I'm going to get it, I'm just going to get it over with. That was kind of where we were at mentally. But thankfully, we did come home with everyone.
Well, yeah, okay. So that was going to be my question. You've kind of pre-answered it there. So, but did you ever go into hot LZs? I mean, you hear about that with Vietnam all the time. Were you taking gunfire in any of the places you were going into pull?
More often than not, I mean, my personal experience, it was for the most part quiet. It wasn't heavy. It was there was some sporadic times, and I know one time we were en route to what's called the POI, the point of injury, and my co-pilot asked if they were still in contact, and he said he was about to say negative. He got the in out, and we hear shots over the radio. So,
what was that?
That was just my squad mate firing off firecrackers, not the sweat.
Well, and I don't know, but it was just comical. It's like, well, we're still coming, but we just need to know where that's coming from. So, but I know one time in particular, it wasn't me. I'd gotten off shift, but the fresh first up crew, IED site, and they were directed to land this spot on the road. And as they sat down, an IED went off right in front of the aircraft. It was most likely an ambush. They were just waiting to pull a medevac in there. Yeah. So, and
they got out okay.
They got out okay. It just threw one rock, shrapnel through the cowling, but the aircraft was okay, and the crew was, thank God.
Yeah. All right. Well, then you got back, and are you still flying? You're still flying medevac, right? Yeah.
No, I'm a flight instructor. I'm an instructor pilot as a government civilian.
Okay.
In H-60s?
Yeah, H-60s.
Okay. Awesome.
But yeah, then so in all, it was 2 Iraq deployments as a medevac guy, and 2 Afghan deployments as an air assault pilot.
Can you tell us the
difference?
Talk
much about that.
Yeah, tell us the difference. I mean, I explain the difference between medevac and air assault.
Okay, let's see if I can put this in layman terms without throwing out a bunch of acronyms. So, medevac was if you get an injured soldier, civilian, whomever you're called for, they need en route care. And you've got the giant red cross that's supposed to signify that you're a non-combatant and you have no combat multiplying weapons. And your job is to get them to the nearest combat support hospital. So they need en route care. Now, air assault, that's where you're taking troops in and out of a whatever objective they need to secure. And you've got two M240s on either door gunners, as we're called.
So air assault, you're carrying trigger pullers to do their job.
Yep, that's a better way to put it, Fig.
And medevac, you're pulling trigger pullers that have been wounded out.
That's a better way to put it. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So you have armament capability as a air assault. You got crew chief with the door gun,
and we've got another two crew members with guns in the back, 240s, and
nice.
Bypass and suppress. Their job is to shoot our way out of there if needed.
Okay. So having been in a situation where I've flown into combat, had absolutely no way of defending myself other than my M9. I'm just going to make an assumption that which was a more comfortable mission for you to fly, medevac or air assault.
Comforting, it was air assault because there's a lot of planning that went into that. There was
right.
there's the time on target plus or minus 30 seconds, but now medevac, you just got a grid and a frequency and off you went.
Yeah, that's some cowboy shit right there, buddy.
Yeah. So, in fact, a lot of unknowns. My second tour in Iraq, we got I knew this was my last shift. I mean, the incoming unit was taking over. This is my last time on first up. And of course, 2:00 in the morning, you get the call, IED, and the co-pilot, the crew chief run out to the aircraft, get it up to engine start. The medic and myself run into the TOC. I'm looking at the map. The medic's gathering patient information, and they give us a frequency and a grid. So I'm put this frequency and I'm trying to make contact with these folks and I'm not hearing anything. And it's not the first time this has happened. Something got lost anywhere. Maybe someone wrote a number down wrong, but I can see the burning Humvee in the distance. And my guess is this is where we need to go. So as I'm circling over, these guys have it looks textbook in how they set up the landing zone. But the problem is it was on a major road intersection with wires everywhere. And
wires. You mean like telephone
wires, high tension wires, right?
Yeah, okay.
So that area, as I said later, I couldn't put a Mini Coupe in there, much less Hawkus Maximus. So staring down at this, we're trying to crack this nut, and I'm circling to figure out, all right, where are we going to land? And about that point, my crew chief yells out RPG. So I brake left. I'm putting the belly towards it because I'm thinking if we take a hit, it's better to get in the belly where we've got some armor. Well, no, it wasn't an RPG. It was a parachute flare that they thought we couldn't see him. So the guy launches a white parachute flare. Yeah. And of course, this is going to happen on my last mission.
Of course. Yeah.
But thankfully, we evacuate the patient. I had heard later that he was going to make it, and we got him back there. But it took me a while to call. I had called around to talk to that unit to explain to them they need to rework their LZ marking procedures.
Yeah, parachute flare.
No,
looks like a projectile, bro.
Yeah, and we're low and slow. So I thought, well, the light's up. Well, that's it. Go toward the light. Hey, at least it didn't hurt.
Right.
Well, now that's a show title too. At least it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but no, it was, and I noticed that a lot of these things would happen toward the end of a deployment. And this is fast forward 2009, is actually on Thanksgiving Day. We had picked up at a FOB Salerno. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, Fig.
Oh yeah, I've been to Salerno.
Yeah, it's
one way in, one way out.
Yep, KG Pass, right?
Yep.
So as we had taken off, we're headed back to Bagram. This is at night. We're seeing some tracer fire, and as we got closer, we're looking. There's a truck shooting at a house. The house is shooting back at the truck, and there's someone standing off in the field shooting at the house and the truck, alternating. And yeah, we just found that hilarious. Like, hey, probably a family dispute. Looks like we're missing one hell of a party. Well, that's when they heard our rotors, and all three of them started shooting up at us. Like, oh shit, break right. So that party was invitation only. We were not invited.
Only in Afghanistan can you have that family feud, and then now we're all pissed at you.
Yeah, that's exactly how that went. So I'll never forget Thanksgiving of 2009. It was nothing personal, just business.
I was there in Thanksgiving of 2010. I was there.
Okay.
I was back for Thanksgiving of 2010. That was the holiday tour, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, in
Yeah.
2010, 11. Yeah,
Yeah. During those years, that's kind of that whole couple
was hot.
decades
It
was
was
just a blur. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that was busy time right then. That was a busy
Yeah.
time for anybody that wore wings. There was a lot of air because the roads were too dangerous. Anything that had to go anywhere was going by air, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it was
during that deployment, that's when Bergdahl decided to take a walk. So
right. Yep.
that became the main effort. Everything that was being done was
Did you
stopped.
spend any
He
time
was the main
wandering
effort.
around looking for him?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I actually flew one of those. I was more planning by that point,
Okay.
but they were vehicle interdictions, any piece of intel, they were on it. And that guy became the main effort.
Do you recall? Did hindsight's 2020? Do you recall? Did they know he wandered off on his own, or did they think he'd been?
No, they told us right away he wandered off. That
okay.
was
Right.
known right from the get-go to us. I don't think the press here in the States knew about that yet, but we knew about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Tongue bleeding. Trying not to.
I hope not.
Treason.
But no, that was but back to the States, and after that I needed a break. So my branch manager sent me to Fort Rucker to teach the Blackhawk course.
Nice.
Okay.
And that was very rewarding. That was and one thing as an instructor too that I realized is, man, I had a lot of bad habits I picked up over the years. And I just didn't realize that until I became an instructor pilot.
Oh, you had to go back and teach it standardized and
Yeah,
this is safe,
yeah.
this is unsafe.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
So okay, so what give us a bad habit? What was the worst and hardest? And
well, trying to fly and come inside the cockpit and start flipping radios. I mean,
okay,
that was just one that's a horrible habit. So you just learn a little more about cockpit management, but sometimes
let the other guy manage the radios.
Right, because sometimes, I mean, there's been students where at a certain stage in training, man, I'd be better off with a bag of concrete in the other seat.
Sure.
But
200 pounds of gas, man.
yeah. Well, but the first couple classes you're given the stronger students because by the time they get to us, they've already gone through primary instruments and basic combat skills. So
yeah, you're teaching them their final weapon system. This is what they're going to fly.
This is their airframe. This is going to be their career airframe. Well, the first couple classes you're given the stronger students, and as a new instructor, I finally said, "Hey, give me somebody I got to train. I want a challenge." Well, careful what you wish for, because they hand me his records and they were just bleeding red, all kinds of red ink. I said, "Okay."
All
I
right.
asked for this, and as soon as I sat in front of him and spoke, man, he cringed like an abused animal.
Ooh.
And I stopped. He was a young lieutenant. I said, "Sir, you had screamers, didn't you?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, look, I promise you I'll never scream at you and I'll never belittle you. But don't quit on me. I'm not going to quit on you." Took about a week to get out of his shell. And, he went up and he wound up graduating. So that was one of my, the most, one of my professional accomplishments I'm proud of.
That was good leadership.
Nice.
That was good leadership exercise there, warrant officer.
Yeah. Well, but again, I'm paying it forward, and it's what
Yes.
Vapor did for me. So
Yes,
I was able to pay that
yes,
forward.
yes. That's a Marine for you right there, bro.
So-
you could take the Marine out of the Marines, but you can't take the Marine out of the Marine.
No, that's something that's what we wear. It's just something about us, and as I say, we can smell our own kind.
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so had a good time doing that for 3 years. Then back to Fort Bragg in 2013 to the 82nd as a standardization pilot, and from there another Afghan deployment, and I retired from the Army in 2016.
Okay.
Well, thank you for your service.
Indeed. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
And so, is that when you became a civilian instructor?
No,
For the Army.
No, after that, I started flying civilian MedEvac.
Okay.
What are you nuts?
So
But was it in North Carolina, or did you
Yep.
go to some tropical location far away in a beautiful land?
yeah,
No.
it's called
Medevac
it's called
tours in Kauai.
it's called Fayetteville, North Carolina. That was the
Vietnam
tropical
Vietnam.
paradise right there.
Yes. I know it well.
It is tropical.
Not as well as you, but I do know.
Yeah. But that was
Well,
interesting.
the reason I said, "Are you nuts?" I could be wrong, but are not civilian medevacs helicopter? They're among the highest accident rate aviation.
I think statistically it is. And one thing that I had to get used to is flying single pilot.
Oh, okay. That's a game changer. Right?
So you've and also
You
too,
really
it's
don't
an
let go of the collective.
no, and it's an interesting dynamic because as the pilots and the mechanics, we belong to another company, say Air Methods, Metro, where in a hospital program, the med crew belongs to the hospital. So think of them as your customers as well.
All right.
Ah,
All right.
okay.
So it's an interesting dynamic. But I tell you, in the civilian world, flying medevac, that was probably just as not eye-opening, if not more, because in combat, this is what you're expecting. But in civilian, you see a lot of these people that, nobody woke up that morning thinking they were going to be flown to the nearest trauma center.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's that was really, really eye-opening. In fact, I had a picture a medic gave me of a car that was crushed like a beer can because the driver was texting. So I would show that to my daughter. I said, "This is what happens when you text and drive. Don't do it."
Oh, it'll never happen to me.
Yeah,
That'll never happen to me. What'll go wrong, right?
Yeah, I had a lot of people in my aircraft that said the same thing.
Yeah.
But
The truth.
but yeah, that was but it was good in the sense that you never knew what was going to happen that day. It could have been anything.
And can I make an assumption? You get a mission, and you get a grid. You get a street intersection, basically, right? Someplace parking lot, someplace to set down, and you got the same kind of hazard. Nobody's shooting at you, but you still got power lines, light poles, trees, overpasses. The same
Idiots trying to help.
Idiots trying to help. Yeah. Yeah. It's
wrong?
yeah. Well, and one thing that I was happy to say is that never once was I asked to push weather. And the first thing that when dispatch calls you is they ask for a weather check to a particular county. And they deliberately won't tell you anything about the patient because they don't want that to influence your decision. Because if they tell you it's a child, you may push weather a little bit.
Interesting.
Sure.
That's brilliant though.
Yeah.
It really
So
is, because
do you have any?
You know what? Because you can't help somebody tomorrow if you're dead.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. And one good thing is they also have to tell you, if they ask you for this mission, they have to tell you that another base passed on it for weather.
Okay.
So it's really a good safety system. But
it's nice to hear that that's in place.
Oh yeah, and
really I imagine that procedure, I'm guessing, is written in blood, as many.
Yeah, it's most unforgiving. But I always tell people that if it took me more than 30 seconds to make a weather decision, I probably wasn't going.
Yeah.
And the thing that was really different as doing this under combat conditions was that in combat you give it the old college try. If weather, you try to creep around it. But something to bear in mind is that, hey, all you're doing is delaying transport because we still have a ground ambulance. So if I say I'm going to take this mission, but I'm trying to hunt and peck through weather, you're just delaying transport.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Very good.
Can I make an assumption based on one experience that I had with a civilian medevac crew? When you were on call, on duty, were you paired with a nurse or a flight nurse, or so for a certain period of time, and you were on call basically as a crew?
Yeah, on a crew, we had the way that the programs I worked for did it. We had one nurse and one paramedic. And one program I worked for, the med crew was on 24 hours and pilots were on for 12. And another program I worked for, everyone just did 12-hour shifts. So it varied.
Were the people that you worked with, were you working with any veterans?
Oh yeah, there were quite a few, and a few Navy corpsmen. It was there were a few of us. It was really, and most of the pilots were veterans. In fact, I'd say 99% of us were Army or Marine Corps pilots.
I'm going to make a statement, and you can feel free to chime in and repeat this for you too. Okay. Whenever I'm crewed with another veteran, before we even get off the ground, I kind of know where I'm at already. They're a known entity to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm making some assumptions, but I've never been wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. There's it's something, and it's just you just gel.
Yep.
I know what he's capable of. He knows what I'm capable of. So it was really, I never thought of it that way, but you're right. It's just unspoken that, most likely I can depend on him and they can depend on me.
Yeah. It's been like that since at my civilian career from day one. If I was flying with another military trained pilot, veteran, I knew I knew what I had right off the get-go.
Absolutely, because at our core we were kind of trained the same.
Yeah, it really didn't matter what service.
Right.
But the fact that I was flying with a fellow veteran.
Yeah, in fact, it's comical because when I went to another program, my boss, my senior lead pilot, was an old British Royal Navy pilot, and we would joke back and forth. But on the way to work, when I was going to relieve him, he called me in that jovial Cockney accent of his and asked me how I like my tea. To which I would always say, I like it poured in the harbor. That's where I like my tea. So he would respond, call me an ungrateful colonial, and we'd go back and forth on that.
There you go. Tell me, was he wearing a red hat with white letters on it that said "Make America Great Britain Again"?
He was pretty conservative. In fact, he said that I needed culture, so he left a cricket bat up in the office, and I did actually help kill a snake with it. So I told him, "Hey, I found a use for this cricket bat."
Nice.
That's awesome.
Beautiful. All right. So sadly, it's getting time to land this plane. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Funniest or scariest or most poignant moment in all of your aviation career, be it as an ordnance-man, as a medevac pilot, as an assault pilot? Any of these? Which of these? What comes to mind to you, Cale?
Well, I had one comes straight to mind during a civilian medevac, a gangland shooting, and this was relatively common for that area. They're calling multiple aircraft, and they bring the patients to the hospital out front. I land on the pad. I'm at idle. And the other aircraft hopped over to the airport. They're waiting for me to load my patients. So my nurse and medic get out, and they hop into the ambulance, and we're still on comms. Well, his fellow gang members are showing up in force, and it looks like hospital security is getting overwhelmed. So I called to my crew. I said, "Hey, be advised, you guys got indigenous personnel surrounding the ambulance." And so certain things that you're trained to respond. So I had to explain to our older dispatcher what indigenous personnel was, and the other pilot, who he was a Marine Corps Cobra pilot, he looked at me and said, "Are you going to start counting military age males next? What the hell's wrong with you?"
Hey, I'm just looking out for my crew, brother.
Well, you just go into automatic mode, right? And you go,
yeah, it's just this is what I'm trained to do. I'm giving a spot report.
Right.
So, but yeah, overall, guys, I've been blessed with an amazing career. I've had a lot of amazing mentors, and I really count that time in the Marine Corps. My first squadron commander was too tall, Craig. And unfortunately, I don't think he's with us anymore.
Right.
So it's been a blessing. So I've been blessed.
Well, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
as we all have. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for all those stories and your service and doing this twice.
Indeed. Can't do it twice. For
Yeah,
those listening
well-
to the podcast version, we tried this once before. I completely was unable to recover the sound. We've changed services. We're now with StreamYard, so we get everything. Sounds great. And so hopefully the sound is better in your ears as you're listening to this.
I thought you guys were going to make me keep doing it till I got it right.
Well, we just wanted to get you out of the closet, brother.
I'm just glad you're out of the closet, bro. I really
Hope
am
you
glad
won't
you're out of that closet.
Good.
I'm not going to live that one down.
I was feeling really sad the whole interview the first time when you were in that closet. Not the proverbial closet. You were in the.
No, I was
closet.
literally in the closet.
He was literally in a closet.
Literally, he was.
Yeah, and
He was
that
banished
didn't
to
go
the
the way I thought.
closet. And it was, the Wi-Fi was all torqued up, and anyway,
Yeah,
this was
and-
so much better.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
worked out, guys. But thank you guys so much for having me.
Well, you
Glad
stay
to have you.
safe. You stay
Thank you.
safe
Stay
because I know
safe.
what you're.
Thank you
I
for
know
your
what you're.
service.
Yes, thank you
You're
for your
still
service.
teaching people.
Please stay
Don't let 'em
safe.
kill you.
God, please don't let them kill you. And
Uh,
train good pilots, man. I know you will.
I
Exactly.
will, and you guys also fly safe. And I'm looking forward to hearing the next episode of your podcast.
Well, we're going to do some more of this, and we're going to have you back. In the meantime, after saying thank you for your service, we also want to thank Dave Hamilton over at the Mac.
Matt Geek
We
Gab,
also wanna
thank
thank
you,
Dave
Dave Hamilton.
Hamilton.
You are the man. Dave Hamilton is the man.
At the Mac Geek Gab and the Gig Gab, which is not a Mac show. The Gig Gab, he's a musician, so that's a show for musicians, and the Business Brain, which is a show for entrepreneurs. Also, we have a glossary. So we mentioned a billion terms that
Oh my
we
gosh.
don't have on the glossary. If you don't understand a term you heard on this show, shoot us an email and
Yeah,
we'll get it
we'll
up
get it
on
on
so
there.
there I was.us/glossary.
Easy for
New
you
lips
to say.
tonight, apparently.
Easy.
Email. I'm going to put our email addresses on the website. 2 people have told me this week, hey, you mention it all the time, but you don't have it anywhere on your website. So I'm going to fix that. It's repeat@sothereiwas.us, REPETE, sticks@sothereiwas.us, and fig@sothereiwas.us. Those are our email addresses. New this week, merchandise. sothereiwas.us/merch, MERCH. Pretty cool stuff. We got hats,
Cool
we
cozy.
got mugs,
Koozies. Mugs.
koozies,
Is the bikini
rugs,
is the
clocks.
bikini on there?
and a bikini, baby. Because, there was a bikini there. I had to put our logo on a bikini.
I love the bikini, man. I love the bikini.
because we
It
can.
would, I couldn't get my wife to wear it. My daughter would probably wear it, but I'm not going to let her wear it.
Yeah, get your ladies a bikini, and then we'll go from there. We have patrons who are supporting this show. So if you feel like this show is a buck and a quarter to get out to you, hey, throw that buck and a quarter in there, please, and help us continue to bring all these great stories and these great aviators to you. sothereiwas.us/Patreon. You too can be a pilot at So There I Was. Thank you to our sponsors this week. And finally, I'm kind of thinking, there it is. Fig, who's that? Can you hear it?
That,
Is it
my
too low?
friends, is the Dos Gringos, the 2 Air Force F-16 pilots that make the Air Force sound so good.
They make them sound good. They make them sound great.
They have great music. They let us use their music on our podcast, and they have 4 albums out, and you can't go wrong with any one of them.
We've got to have them back. We've got to have them back. They were a lot of fun.
They were a hoot.
Yeah. Fig, until next week, do you have any advice for the folks who are listening tonight?
Why I would normally say, don't sit on the
Check 6.
ejection. Check 6.
That's how we open.
Oh, you're right. All right. So I was gonna say, since we're with our helicopter friend, don't sit on the collective, but I guess we're saying check 6. Check 6.
Yeah, do not sit on the collective.
Don't sit on the collective. Please don't sit on the collective.
I think I might actually leave that in and made it a show title, but
Please don't sit on the collective, folks.
oh, don't do it. And when you're not sitting on it, don't let go of it either. Folks, don't let go of the collective.
Don't let go. Don't sit on it.
Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed to save your life. But we knew there was no way. 'Cause when you're going down the North Atlantic, man, it's over.
Hey, Fig,
Repeat. What's that?
Did I lose you? We lost Fig. Oh.
He'll be back.
What he said, folks. What did he say, KO?
Oh, it's over! It's over! He said it's over! For
Over.
fucking
He's
crying
back.
out
Fig is
loud!
back.
It's over!
Oh, I think I can edit that and actually make it sound good. I could be wrong. All right.
I was here the whole time. You guys just couldn't hear
No,
me.
we couldn't. We couldn't hear you. So
I was saying it's
Oh,
over, bro. It's
man.
over. Fuck! For fuck's sake, it's over.
there we go. All right,
My
lads.
wife just walked by and gave me the fucking hairy eyeball. She's walked by. She gave me the hairy eyeball. Like, what in the why world of sports are you still doing on the phone?
Right.
Not on the
There
phone.
you go.
I'm on the podcast,
On
baby.
something. We're on something. So we
Hey,
got
this was
some-
this was a blast, KO.
This was a lot of fun.
You guys, I had all the fun, and I said before, I'm a little starstruck
Oh.
here because I love your guys'
You
show.
You did not have all the fun. I had all the fun. You two fuckers are out. 'Cause I had all the fun,
There you go.
and I showed up.
There
I
you
showed
go.
up late because I'm a dumbass. And
So,
anyway,
all
thanks for
right.
being patient with me, boys.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I've
No
got to
worries.
figure out a way to trim all this because I know Dave does it with Geek Gab. All this is still all going out on Facebook and all that. No one wants to see most of this in the afterlife. But
These are the outtakes.
yeah, the outtakes, the behind the scenes, behind baseball, inside baseball, all that good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So we got a comment on Facebook from. I'm going to put it up there. Here we go.
Who is
Just
it?
fix
Are you
it
gonna put
on the
on?
collective at the end.
Just fix it on the collective at the end. Now we know what happens if you do so. Hey, hold on. I just had a thought. Stay right there. Stay right there.
Okay, that's fine. So while you're going to do whatever
Okay.
the heck it is you're going to do, that's from Chase Cole, who is one of our patrons, and I guess he used to work on the chaff buckets at Eye Level Mals. So power, deckham pods, chaff pods, all fun in the electronics world. Nice. So all right, I'm going to unmute you now, Fig. There you go. You're back. I don't
Can you
know,
hear me?
maybe you're not. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
we got you.
Yeah, we got you.
We got you, Fig. He's the same thing. I think he's sitting on the collective again.
Yeah, I think he is.
Thank God this didn't happen during the show.
Yeah.
Oh, I know why. Hang on, Fig. I've got you muted. Somehow. There you go. You're back.
Am I unmuted now?
You're unmuted. You may speak,
So
sir.
I see now. The host has unmuted your mic. Thanks, host.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I was
You could
thinking,
be a host too.
I'm gonna
You
wear
figure out how to
this
log in.
on the show. I'm gonna start wearing this on the show. Hold on.
There you go.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Got
Hold
your
on a
hard
second.
hat on,
I'm gonna
baby.
put this down. Now nobody can see what I'm thinking.
Well, you know, you
No-
tell
no
a war
one-
story, you got to put that
no one-
helmet on and reenact it, right?
No one's gonna know what I'm thinking because you can't see me.
Yeah.
See, you can't see
I
my
had
eyes.
mine around here somewhere. Yeah, it's good stuff.
I got 3 of them hanging down here. I got 3 different ones. But anyway, next time we talk to a fighter guy like Chemo, I should have put my helmet on in the middle of the
put it
interview
on.
and said, "Okay, Chemo," because
Okay. Hold on.
Chemo's
Don't
doing
go to
this.
guns yet.
He's doing this the whole time. Oh God, you know, the only thing he wasn't doing was wearing a helmet.
Oh, he's
Swear.
banging around like crazy and gesticulating and banging his
know,
mic.
right?
And still a good show. It was funny as shit. But
Can you see this on the back of the helmet?
there you go. The
Ah,
Bulldog with Angel Wings, drawn by Walt Disney himself.
yeah. Well, I'm still partial to the Ace of Spades. I'm sure you guys understand.
Yeah, we get
Oh,
it.
totally. Oh, I totally get it.
But
And it's a great. It's a listen. They're our sister squadron. We love those guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I loved you guys in True Lies.
There you go. Lime 2 inbound. Oh, God, make it stop.
We
Dog, damn it. We're dog.
that was a great interview about the making of those.
Yeah, that
Did
was
you
funny. Have you
listen
heard
to that one?
one? Kale.
I haven't yet. I'm going to go back. In fact, I saw that.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Gunny last, but yeah, I'm going to check that
It's
out.
Bu-
That was around
it's
13
Bugsy.
or 14, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Bugsy and Moto. Yeah.
It's Bugsy
Yeah.
and Moto, and there's a little bit of inside baseball on the making of that because those guys did the flying.
I'd like to hear
Yeah,
that.
in Key
Wasn't
West.
one of them the squadron commander?
No.
It was Asia, but he was not on with us.
he wasn't on with us. He was batshit crazy, by the way.
Ah,
Oh, thank you.
Well,
for
most
that,
of us
Dave. We're
are in
still
some
live, brother.
but yeah, I remember that movie came out right before I shipped to boot camp.
Oh, no
Okay.
kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that filmed right after we got back from Westpac in '92. So
Yeah. Yeah, 93. We got back in
Or
December.
93, yeah, spring of '93.
And they took so I left in March, April. And a couple weeks after that they took airplanes down to Key West to do do some flying.
Nice. Yeah, I got to boot camp in July of '94, and that was my 18th birthday that I arrived at MCRD. So
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Oh, okay. I'm thinking MCRD. Though they're both MCRDs.
yeah, Paris Island. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking Hollywood Marine. But
No.
Hey, I got 3% battery left on this laptop.
Uh-oh.
And so if
you're
I
about to go.
disappear,
All right.
it's-
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
listen, everybody. I'm gonna turn this off so that Figs can finish uploading and before we go. And so take care. Good night. God bless, and thanks for joining us.
God
All right,
bless the
thanks for
United States
having me,
Marine Corps.
gents.
God bless America.
Rah.
Yeah.